Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Yay! Yay! I'm Dawn Ellenwood. I'm the chair of the board at Mercy Connections, and I am thrilled to be here in person with all of you, but also with our 175 people who are joining us via Zoom. All right, so more about that in a minute, but welcome to this beautiful site. It's an honor for me to welcome you to our first ever virtual celebration, The Power of Connections, Stories of Strength and Resilience. What a beautiful title. This event is our way to spend time together to reflect on this past extraordinary year and celebrate all the good that came out of Mercy Connections, even during a pandemic, which is phenomenal. Phenomenal work. Let me start by recognizing that we are streaming this broadcast live from Hula, the new technology-driven co-working campus and Vermont Business Accelerator on the shores of the beautiful Lake Champlain. Woohoo! We are extremely grateful to be here in this incredible facility for today's event and extend our deepest gratitude to longtime supporters, Roxanne and Russ Scully, and the Onda Foundation. Thank you very, very much. As I just mentioned, we have two audiences here today. We have our speakers, our staff, our sponsors, and some special guests here at Hula. But also, we have 175 of our friends through Zoom. For those of you tuning in virtually, hi. We welcome you, and we welcome your participation through the chat feature. You will also find the program in the chat. We all know what that means from this past year, right? And two of our staff members, Heather Gilbert and Lisa Wood, are online if you need any assistance. Thank you, Heather and Lisa. Today, we recognize the work and commitment of hundreds of people, staff, board members, volunteers, supporters, and most importantly, our participants. Even with our center closed, we dug deep to find new ways to support each other, lift one another up, and stay connected. I have not worked with any other organization that was able to pivot in such a way as Mercy Connections. We are thrilled to be honoring, finally, Leslie McCrorey Wells. Woohoo! As our 2021 recipient of the Catherine McAuley Award. I would like to welcome Leslie, her family, colleagues from her 3 businesses in Burlington, and many, many friends. Welcome, welcome. So thrilled to see you in person. We are also honored to have past recipients of the Catherine McAuley Award with us today. Teresa Alberghini de Palmer. Teresa. Sarah Byers. Lisa Ventris. David Coates. Sister Janice Ryan. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. I would also like to welcome the Sisters of Mercy and our 3 former executive directors, Sister Lindora Cabral, Betsy Ferries, and Dolly Fleming. Thank you so much for being here. We welcome staffers representing the offices of Senator Leahy, Senator Sanders, and Representative Welch. We are grateful that you have joined us today. And more importantly, we thank you and our amazing congressional delegation for the work you have done to support Vermont and Vermonters through this crisis. Thank you so much. We'd like to thank and recognize our generous sponsors. Their support is instrumental in our ability to continue the impactful programs that have helped, and will help so many in our community. We are extremely grateful to the following: Birchview Capital, Comcast, Green Mountain Power, Muskoma Bank, A.N. Derringer, David and Ann Hockey, Northfield Savings Bank, PC Construction, ReArc Properties, the University of Vermont Medical Center, the Coates family, the Coffin family, Hickok and Boardman Network of Companies, Leonardo's Pizza, NFP Insurance, Pam McKenzie, People's United Bank, St. Michael's College, Sheehy, Furlow and Beam, PC, Sisters of Mercy, Society of St. Edmund, The Alchemist, Vermont Roundtable. That's quite a list, right? Let's give them a round of thank you. I would be remiss not to thank and take a moment to thank the staff at Mercy Connections. Their work during this pandemic was truly heroic, and I want to thank each and every one of you who are around the room here. So thank you, staff of Mercy Connections. To our board members, thank you, board, and to the more than 150 volunteers who mentor, teach, feed, and support the people who seek out Mercy Connections in hope of a better life. I thank and I honor you today. Thank you so much. We wouldn't be Mercy Connections without you. Thank you. And finally, to our participants, one of whom will offer today's reflection, and 3 others who will share their stories. Thank you for your contributions in making Mercy Connections a safe and compassionate place of purpose and belonging. Thank you very much. We have a very inspiring program ahead, and I thank you so much again. I said thank you 75 times. Do you think we're thankful? Thank you so much for joining us today. Now it's my distinct honor to introduce Jody Gerard, a poet, author, advocate, and participant in Mercy Connections. She will read her poem as our opening reflection. So hold on, Jody, you're next. Directly following Jody, Erica Dean, Senior Director of Inclusion and Diversity Northeast Division at Comcast and a former board member at Mercy Connections, will come forward to present the Catherine McAuley Award. So thank you very much. Please join me in welcoming Jody. Thank you.
Shel Silverstein wrote, "Listen to the mustn'ts, child. Listen to the don'ts. Listen to the shouldn'ts, the impossibles, the won'ts. Listen to the never haves, then listen close to me. Anything can happen, child. Anything can be." Mercy Connections brings dreams and hopes and what could be's to life. It is in the possibilities that unite one another through our struggles in life that empower us to truly accept ourselves and have courage. My name is Jody Gerard, and I have found a place in the community of Mercy Connections. There's friendship, education, goals, and compassion for one another. We are coming out of a darkness from COVID that many have suffered through. Isolation, fear, sickness, and even death have filled the last year, yet there has been solace and comfort being helped through Mercy Connections. As a mental health survivor, I struggle on a daily basis towards recovery. Some days I fall, I curl up in bed, I hide. Some days I reach out and find comfort with others. I turn to uplift those around me, and I feel better. Mercy Connections is a place I have found the joy of connecting with others, especially during this last year. I have a book about to be published. It is called Living with the Neighbors, that will be available soon. It is a memoir through prose and poetry of my battle with PTSD and the voices that I hear that I call the neighbors. It is my journey in life, over 40 times hospitalized, but ever carrying hope for myself and others that have had such difficulties. Lifting up others is one way to heal our own pain. Mercy Connections does this, and more. Emily Dickinson said, "If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain." Mercy Connections is a part of our community, giving out hope, fulfilling goals and dreams for countless. Is a gift we give ourselves when we help others, for it empowers us to help ourselves. It is my hope that my book, Living with the Neighbors, may inspire others to no longer hide themselves, but rather share themselves, and in turn be a light for others like Mercy has been for me. We're all here running through the fields of life, and it is together that we learn, we inspire, we desire to be anything we can be. My poem is called Running Through Fields. We are all children running through the fields of life, some on worn paths, some in tall grass, still others rolling in wildflowers. But we are all here together, running through the fields of life. And some, the ones who see beyond the fields, they catch themselves in laughter and make chains of dandelions to wear upon their heads, casting off shoes to run barefoot in the whole wide variety of possibilities. There are countless possibilities to help one another through the fields of life. Mercy Connections is one that makes a remarkable difference. Thank you.
Jody, I just want to thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing a bit of yourself with us this morning and for bringing the spirit of Mercy Connections to us. So we really appreciate you. And let me say good morning to those of you that are in the room and the 175 of you that have joined us virtually. Now that to me is the true power of connection, right? That is really what we have been able to do. And my name is Erica Dean, as Don mentioned before, and I am a very proud past board member of Mercy Connections. And I'm just so honored to be here with you this morning in order to present the prestigious Catherine McAuley Award to Leslie McCrorey Wells. She is my dear, dear friend, and I couldn't be more honored. I had the distinct pleasure of serving on the board of directors for Mercy Connections with Leslie, and it was during this time that a very fast bond and lifelong connection was made. I quickly learned that Leslie and I, although we have very separate and diverse life journeys and separate career paths, both have a passion and a true heart for community. That is what united us as friends and provided us the honor to serve together for 6 years to support this wonderful organization and help do our part in furthering opportunities for our constituents in the greater Burlington and Vermont community. Mercy Connections has always worked to increase social, educational, and economic opportunities for those Vermonters who are marginalized and disfranchised, immigrants, refugees, women, BIPOC community members, and people involved in the criminal justice system attend Mercy Connections programs in pursuit of better lives through higher education, employment, social justice, and business ownership. This is why Mercy Connections is so vital to our community and why Mercy Connections has been so important to the work that Leslie supports. Let me just take a moment to tell you a little bit about Leslie. Leslie is truly an unsung hero of our community. She's a distinguished business leader, an inspiring advocate for social justice and education, who gives tirelessly of her time and talent to promote and advance the concept of women and people of color, and that they can and should aspire to business ownership and community leadership. When COVID-19 began and our economy was shut down, inclusive of her 3 businesses, Leslie's immediate response was to take action and take care of her employees, vendors, and the greater community. She wanted to be sure her employees had access to health, high-quality food, and that they could receive it in a safe way. She was also concerned about her distributors and didn't want to see their businesses fail because of the pandemic. Leslie's compassion did not stop there. Not with her own network. She contacted Mercy Connections and asked what could she do to help. What else would Leslie do? In response, she worked with Lisa and the staff to develop a share program, which Mercy Connections called Soto Shares. And in addition, Leslie partnered with Mercy Connections to provide the food for their well-known pandemic relief program, Curbside Connected. Leslie worked with Mercy Connections for a full year during the pandemic to provide food, boxes and boxes of gorgeous food, to more than 2,000 people in need. Remember, her businesses were closed, and she was donating food to feed others. This work is not where it started for Leslie. Long before COVID-19, she was supporting our community in many different ways. As I mentioned earlier, Leslie served on the board of Mercy Connections for 6 years, from 2013 to 2019. Together, during the Mercy Connections board service that she and I shared, Leslie and I co-chaired the Mercy Connections annual fall event, the Jazz Jam, for 5 years. Anyone who knows Leslie, as I quickly learned, can understand why this event holds a special meaning in her heart. It's because of her beloved father, Larry, who was a respected and talented musician in the local jazz community of Burlington. She is so in her element when supporting and working with local musicians to benefit Mercy Connections, and I loved working with her every minute to bring this great event to life. But it does not stop there. In addition to the passion and the tireless work she brings to support Mercy Connections, Leslie has served on several and various boards in the community, such as the Vermont Commission on National and Community Service, the UVM Coming Home Project, the Burlington School District Strategic Planning Committee, and the Burlington Mayor Clavel's Anti-Racism Task Force. Leslie currently serves on the board of the Intervale Center, the Flynn Center for the Performing Arts, and the University of Vermont's Fleming Museum. Leslie was recently appointed to the Governor's Commission on the Future of Vermont Agriculture. Leslie is so passionate about raising awareness and is actively working to build in a more equitable compensation for not only her staff, but also for the restaurant workers across the state of Vermont, working to ensure that those in the food industry have fair pay structure for their work. All of these things and more is what makes Leslie an unsung hero of our community. Remember, I said that at the beginning. I'm bringing it back. She is an unsung hero of our community. She's a spectacular person, a caring individual, a tireless contributor, and I could go on, but most importantly, I call her friend. To that, I want to congratulate Leslie McCrorey Wells for this distinct honor and award.
Thank you. I will stay right there. There we go. Oh my goodness, who is that person? Thank you, Dawn and Jody. Oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you, Erica. You know how I feel about you, and I know that you moved mountains to be here today to give me this award, and I really, really appreciate that. Couldn't imagine anyone else being up here. I also want to just mention once again something that Dawn talked about, the previous recipients of this award who were giants in this community. And I feel very, very, very honored to stand in their amazing aura. So I please want to just ask you once again for a round of applause for those giants and all of the participants and all of you here today, because this is an incredibly important place to be. Thank you. Community, resiliency, power. I was introduced to Mercy Connections a little over 8 years ago when my good friend, John Crabb, asked me to consider board service. "What's Mercy Connections?" I asked. He proceeded to give me a brief description, which I would learn is not easy to do. Curiosity piqued, I agreed to meet with the executive director at that time, Dolly Fleming, to whom I confessed, while I consider myself spiritual, I'm not really very religious. She assured me that that would not be a problem and began to talk about radical hospitality, the history of Mercy Connections, the organization's relationship with founder Catherine McAuley, the Sisters of Mercy, and the organization's fierce commitment to racial justice, gender equity, care for the planet, education, assisting formerly incarcerated women in transition, and fostering a generation of women business leaders. And while all that sounded great, she had me at radical hospitality. I quickly found, upon joining the board of trustees, that Mercy Connections was much more than a simple description could capture. It is a place of hope and kinship, a refuge, a place where people can learn and explore and choose new pathways, a place to heal, to grow, to stretch, to connect, to thrive, and to find community. As chance would have it, Mercy Connections had entered my orbit several years earlier by way of a new employee interview with Emily Linso in April 2008. Just days after her release from Windsor Correctional Facility, Emily had answered my ad for a pizza cook for PK Cafe. The no-nonsense help I needed at the restaurant. We worked very closely together for nearly 2 years, during which time I got to know Emily well, and I watched her grow more confident, self-assured, and hopeful. Her success is a testament to her resilience and tenacity, but also to the support and encouragement she received from Mercy Connections community. Emily and I have stayed close since she left the cafe in 2010, and I cannot imagine my life without her in it. Emily's story, one of many stories just like hers, shows us what a community gains by not letting a person's worst moments define their worth. But what happens when a global pandemic disrupts everything? And the community, such as the one that supported Emily, is forced to go on hiatus. Such was the position into which Mercy Connections was thrust as the pandemic laid bare the needs of Vermont's most vulnerable people, exacerbating issues of food access, highlighting concerns of isolation, shelter, and safety, and essentially cutting off the lifeline that many participants had come to rely on. During this tenuous and uncertain time, Mercy Connections, Marissa Strayer-Benton, and Executive Director Lisa Falcone and I began to envision a way to open the Trattoria Delia Pizzeria Verita staff commissary to Mercy Connections participants, many of whom faced isolation, food insecurity, and the danger of falling between the cracks. 2 programs, Soto Shares and Curbside Connected, were born out of this need to maintain a strong personal connection of trust and support that was threatened by quarantine and isolation. Mercy Connections' swift response to the pandemic taught us the power of building strong communities, sharing resources, and meeting people where they are with bold, effective, and sustained support. So where do we go from here? Soto Shares and Curbside Connected ended with the very generous funds that supported it. There are plans in the works for new programs to take its place, and I have no doubt that with all of our help, this will happen, and with the help of the state. Just a few weeks ago, I shared tears with Maeve and Joe outside Pizzeria Verita as we loaded the last of the meals into their cars. We were saddened by a model where the needs grow exponentially as the support recedes. The end of the food programs, the closure of Northern Lights, and the loss of 13 women to a system that could not protect them. And in the mainstream media, the word on everyone's lips was a return to normalcy. Normalcy should not be good enough for any of us. Not for the Black and brown men, women, and children who have lost their lives to systemic racism and police brutality. Not for the 1 in 5 people who face food insecurity in Vermont's pre-COVID. Not for Vermont's women and BIPOC who continue to face income disparity. Not for Vermont's children, an outrageous number of whom live under the poverty level. Not for any of us. Normal, isn't it, folks? Normal, isn't it, folks? We can do better. Today, I appeal to you all, my community, in the spirit of Catherine McAuley and Mercy Connections, and I ask you to join with me to support radical, bold change. We have an opportunity to make Mercy Connections a model center which meets people where they are, bolsters our community through creative, sustained opportunities, and offers a trusted place where participants can thrive. I am honored to have been nominated and humbled to be the 2020 and 2021 recipient of the Mercy Connections Catherine McAuley Award. I thank the Board of Trustees for seeing in me a passion for justice, for a hunger to build, nurture, and support, and the conviction to stay on it. And I hope that I will be forever adopted by and charged with the work of this dynamic group. Thank you to the Sisters of Mercy for your bold vision in living the legacy of Catherine McAuley. To Larry Michaels and Sister Lucille, we miss you and carry you in our hearts. Thank you for your tireless commitment and leadership. Thank you, Marie, Tricia, and Linda, for sharing your stories with us today. Thank you, Jody. Thank you also to the donors and sponsors who have clearly embraced the mission of Mercy. Your generosity keeps the programs alive, active, engaged, and highly effective. Thank you, Lisa, Marissa, and the amazing, mighty Mercy staff who quite literally did all the Soto Shares and Curbside Connected heavy lifting and worked their magic every Wednesday to feed, see, hear, and inspire hope for nearly 50 participants every single week. Maeve, Joe, Kelly, Heather, Kathy, and also Lindsay Drew, who helped me pack every bag of food. You all inspire me. To my incredible, talented Pizzeria Verita and Trattoria Delia staff who held with us during the furlough, and many of whom came back to help us rebuild. Your ability to care for our businesses with such a sense of ownership, attention to detail, and pride allows me to step away to volunteer my time for matters of the heart. I appreciate you all so much. To my business partner, John, who, when asked how we would manage if I split my time with board service, assured me that he would be at the restaurant every night, and he was not kidding. Thank you, John. Thank you to my dear friends, many of whom are here with me today or on the call. Thank you for keeping my secrets. And to Keith, who is not my assistant, but whose friendship keeps the workload much lighter and the pushback to a very minimum. Thank you, Kevin, for you. And to siblings, Desi, Lauren, Larry, and Pat, who continue to provide encouragement, support, daughterhood, sisterhood, brotherhood. To Nini, my second grade teacher, dear friend and most ardent supporter. To my personal farmhand, chef, and love of my life, Rick, who feeds me, the animals, the plants, and our customers. I could do none of this without you. And to Virginia, who never flinched when introduced to my dad's grown children and who supports everything I do. I love you all so much. To my fabulous, tenacious, inspirational daughter, Ellington, whose very existence gives me the force to work toward a better world, one which will live up to its promise to you and to others' children. I simply could not be prouder of you and the person that you have become. You are the very best of us, bold, funny, serious, black, and beautiful throughout. You have embraced your father's wisdom, your grandfather's wisdom to fight racism with everything you have, but to never let it be an excuse for failure. You are my heart. In conclusion, we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, and we gain strength from those who stand beside us. Build your communities well. Mercy Connections has reaffirmed my faith in the power of community, the hopeful and engaged participants, the small but mighty staff accomplishing more than seems humanly possible, the selfless commitment of donors and volunteers. In all of us, I see the impact of working together and the importance of building community, not because it's the right thing to do, because it's the only thing to do. Community, resiliency, power. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I wasn't going to cry, but boy, Leslie McCrorey Wells, the longest-serving Catherine McAuley nominee in the history of our organization. There was a reason for that. Leslie was our 13th Catherine McAuley Award winner, and I am definitely in awe of you. Just so you all know, Leslie didn't get selected for all the food and things she did this year. She was selected back in fall of 2019. And just because she's who she is, she did all that she did for Mercy Connections this past year. So let me just say to Leslie, Catherine McAuley once said, we should be shining lamps, giving light to all around us. I know I speak for, well, everybody here, everybody on Zoom, everybody in the world, particularly the staff and the board, when I say you have been our bright light this year. Thank you so much. I think most people know who I am, but I should say that I'm Lisa Falcone, the Executive Director of Mercy Connections. And I do want to say to those of you here in this room, this beautiful innovation space called Hula, I just love saying that name. I'm so happy to see you in person. Thank you for the hugs as you came in. And to those on Zoom, well, we're just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for joining us today. Each of you is an important part of the Mercy Connections story. In just a few days, on July 1st, Mercy Connections will reach its 20th anniversary. After the year gone by, a little something going on, I am thrilled to announce that our beloved, powerful education and social justice organization made it to this important milestone. Let me also say our mission and work to ensure access and opportunity to resources that empower better lives for Vermonters who too often are marginalized and disenfranchised has never been stronger and more needed in this post-COVID economy. As you know, our foundation is rock solid, based on the legacy of the Sisters of Mercy, Trinity College, and a steadfast belief that all people, regardless of life circumstances, deserve compassion, dignity, respect, opportunity to live their potential and promise in a supportive community. For 20 years, Mercy Connections has embraced radical inclusion and hospitality and built a bold learning community that lifts up all people. My job today, although Leslie sort of already did it, is to give you a brief summary of the last year, or the past year. Let me begin on March 6, 2020, when our small but very mighty staff gathered for a retreat to finalize future planning work that would grow and sustain Mercy Connections for years to come. Not once during that powerful planning day did anyone say, hey, should we plan to close down our center for 15 months so that we can mitigate the spread of a deadly virus? And yet, that's exactly what we did 1 week later. Although our center was closed, our staff and board resolved to do all we could to keep participants and our whole Mercy Connections community safe and connected during this very scary time. Even though we had no clue how, we were really unsure. We didn't have much operating money, but we knew we needed to try and lean into our community like never before. We are so grateful to so many. I know we thank people a lot at Mercy Connections. It's sort of the way we are, but this is really important. Governor Scott and his administration for providing clear guidelines and communications that we relied on so heavily. Donors, funders, sponsors who called and gave us financial support, and perhaps more importantly, the confidence and hope, you know who you are, that we could survive this pandemic together. The generosity, whether it was a high school student bringing goods to Curbside Connection, using her own money, and that really did happen, or the unexpected gift or grant that sustained our work, we are so grateful. It was remarkable. We are also so grateful to our federal delegation that supported the release of the PPP loan, which was instrumental in keeping our organization afloat. And our volunteers, our army of volunteers, I don't usually use that word because it's military, but our volunteers who doubled down on their roles as teachers and mentors and also became drivers, delivery people, and resource navigators. We had mentors driving to the Northeast Kingdom and Central Vermont on a weekly basis to deliver food, technology, and other essentials so that women who were released from prison and located outside of our region. Yes, it has been a year like no other. Our staff's response was to run a record number of classes and support programs through Zoom, offering 102 programs in total and serving more people than ever before and from across the state. Classes like Developing South, Startup for Small Business Ownership, Pens and Pages, Idea to Action, English Language Learning, Vermont Leadership, Mercy Marketplace, U.S. Citizenship Preparation, and many more were an oasis of learning, routine, growth, and connection in an upside-down world. Weekly Circle and a new class called Mercy Moments became virtual safe space to our participants to share hopes, fears, and time to be together with others. I joined these sessions on occasion, usually when I needed a boost. Hearing participants, that's a hard word to say, optimism, and seeing their compassionate support for one another kept me grounded in what really matters. I'll never forget when one participant thanked the staff for holding classes. He said it was the only time he spoke to anyone all week. In addition, we created 2 new programs, you've heard about them, to respond to the growing basic needs of our participants, particularly women who were being released from prison in record numbers. First came Food Share with the great Catherine McAuley Award winner Leslie, who provided a week's worth of food, fresh food to families. We then developed Curbside Connected, a program for resource distribution and in-person connection. The programs operated literally through the front windows of our closed center and served as a lifeline for our participants. More than 3,500 bags of food and other essentials were distributed to families in need, even though that's not what we do. If it sounds like I'm a proud ED, I sure am. All that happened in the past year was done by a remarkable staff of 11 people and an enormous community of volunteers and supporters. There is definitely power in connection. So, the real work and the real reason I'm here is it was done by our participants whose lives were stretched in unimaginable ways by the pandemic, its economic fallout, and the racial crisis of this past year. They, however, continued to show up, work, grow, and demonstrated so much strength, resilience, and a whole lot of kindness and compassion towards each other. At this point, it is my high honor to introduce 3 of our participants who will share their stories. They're up here in the front. I'm so excited. So please join me in welcoming Marie Teme, Tricia Bisson, and Linda Yucca. And we'll let them start right now. And we're going to start with Marie. Come on up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Marie Teme. I'm originally from Cameroon. I've been in Vermont for 3 years now. It will be 3 years in July. I am owner and founder of Green Vision Cleansing, a residential green cleaning business based in Vermont, in Burlington. I am certified in project management by the PMI, an MBA graduate. I discovered Mercy Connection online when I was just having the idea of starting a cleaning business. One of my biggest limitations was that I was new to Vermont, I was new to the community, and I needed help. I first found a SCORE mentor online. He was great, we worked a lot, and he helped me a lot. And one Friday night on my research, I found Mercy Connection. I read about them, and I was like, yes, this is exactly what I need. I emailed them. The next Monday, I got an email from Lisa Wood with all the information that I needed. And back then, I was still struggling with my immigration process. I had to pay my lawyer, and I was making $12 an hour. And I was like, yes, I'm going to work hard and save some money and enroll for the program. When the program came, fall 2019, I got another email from Lisa Wood. We are starting soon. Are you still interested? I'm like, yes, I'm interested, but I can't afford the program. She told me to go for the interview. I went for the interview. Everything was great. She was very positive about my business idea, and still I couldn't afford the program. And they first offered me Mercy Connections, first offered me a partial scholarship, and I was like, whoa, now I'm going to work harder, I'm going to take more hours and pay half of the fee. So while I was still figuring out what I'm going to do next to make more hours, I went back to Lisa's office. I'm like, Lisa, what can we do for the payment plan? And she said, it's okay, just come to the class, do your homework. Mercy Connection is giving you a full scholarship. I was like, no. To me, that was a miracle. This is one of my miracles in the US, in Vermont. My business is growing. Mercy Connection has played a significant role in my journey as a business owner in Vermont. One of the things that I needed the most, beside the market's research, the technical knowledge that I needed to start a business, was connections. I didn't know anybody. I was just coming straight from Senegal. And just being at Mercy Connection, they were like an open door for me, because for you to enter into a system, you need an access. And Mercy Connection was that access to the system of Vermont and Burlington community. I am very grateful and very proud of what I'm doing in the business and what Mercy Connection is doing. And I will always be grateful. My business is really growing. I really started working in July 2019, July 12th, 2019. That was the first job that I had, the first person that wrote the name of my company on a check. I remember that day. I had no equipment. I had no cleaning supply. I just got one of my towels that I was scrubbing the floors with on my knees. I used paper towel, and at the end of the job, I had $200, and I was so excited. I bought some cleaning supplies. And I just want to, people that are watching online, those who are here, if you have an idea, if you want to start something, you just need to start. And you don't need to be great before you start. It's when you start that you become great. This is what I have learned in my journey as an entrepreneur in a condition where I'm not used to. I'm so grateful, so grateful. Thank you so much, Mercy Connection. And maybe next time my company will be there as a sponsor to sponsor Mercy Connection. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Trisha. I'm a member of Mercy Connections. I'm going to tell you about my life and how Mercy Connections has been such a positive support system in my life into my sobriety. My childhood was fairly normal. I have awesome, loving parents, but I did suffer childhood trauma due to an old family friend that I never divulged to anyone until I was 21 years old, to stop it from happening to another little girl. I started using drugs at a young age to help cope with my trauma. My drug use started small, like most, only using recreationally, and being able to hide it from my family. Then I quickly started to become more and more addicted, and my addiction took over my life, and my family became aware. And I no longer was in control, the drugs were. My family tried to help me, but I was too far gone. And all I cared about was getting high, and it didn't matter who I was hurting. The only thing that mattered was how I was going to get my next fix. I had very little self-esteem and almost no confidence in myself. So it was very easy to become the follower and just kind of go with the flow and hang with the wrong kinds of friends who only cared about getting high as well. Then I lost my job due to selling drugs in the locker room. My life was starting to really spiral out of control. Then I met a guy who became my boyfriend, who had been in and out of jail his entire adult life. We had no money, no jobs, and a very expensive habit. So we then decided to rob some convenience stores at gunpoint to feed our habit. Then after being on the run for about 2 weeks, I ended up in jail for the robberies. However, I still believe that going to jail saved my life in more ways than one. While incarcerated for 2.5 years, I got clean and also learned to love myself for the first time. I became a leader, not a follower. I learned how to stand up for myself and go after what I wanted. I learned about a program called Mercy Connections that helps women and supports them in their lives. Also, they have a program that pairs women up with a mentor based on similar interests. I reached out to Mercy Connections and decided to give the whole mentor thing a try. Also, when it was close to my release date, I found out about a company named Rhino Foods that gives people with a shaky past second chances, and they actually came right to the jail and interviewed me for the job, which was super helpful to know that I would probably have a job when I got released. My mentor was Dottie Watson. We were paired together at first because we both loved to read murder mysteries. So that's what we bonded over in the beginning. I can honestly say that Dottie is much more to me than my mentor. She is one of my very good friends. Dottie and I would get together about once a week for coffee or to go to dinner. It was just so nice to have her to hang out with me, and also to know that she will always have my back and be there to support me in my life with whatever I may need. I know if I was struggling with anything, I could call her, and she would do anything she could to try to help me get through it. We also did so much more together, like riding bikes, going to the movies, and things like that. It has been so great to have her to support me. Although she is no longer my mentor, we continue to stay in touch, and we still meet sometimes for coffee or to go to dinner. Now I am living a dream life that I really never thought was in the cards for me. I have been clean and sober for a little over 4 years. I work at Rhino Foods, where I have been employed for about two years and 3 months. I really love working there and have been promoted 4 times in 2 years. Rhino since the beginning treated me like family, and everyone who works there is also super nice and friendly. I have the best boyfriend and stepson that anyone could ask for. He supports me in everything I do in my life and is here today with me. I have a very big and supportive family who would do anything for me. I am also working with Mercy Connections to become a mentor myself, and I cannot wait to start helping others like they have helped me. I can't wait to see where this next chapter in my life takes me. Thanks so much for your time and for listening to my story. My hope is that by telling my story here today, I will have helped at least one woman in a similar situation take the first right steps to better themselves in their life, because I know that with some hard work, anybody can overcome their past and move on to a successful and bright future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good ladies and gentlemen. My name is Linda Yeke. I am married to my lovely husband, Mr. Samuka Yeke, and we have 2 beautiful daughters, Nafi and Lucinda. I came to America from Liberia, Africa in 2013 to create a better life for myself and to join my immediate family that was already living here. My husband and my daughters joined me here a few years later. I am currently working as a nursing assistant in a retirement community here in Burlington, Vermont. I thank you all for welcoming me here today to tell you my story. My dad was the first to arrive in the U.S. as an immigrant in the 1980s and came to work at a Jewish temple in Rhode Island. We are a Christian family, but he got a job as a secretary at the temple. There was no war yet at this time in our home country of Liberia. My mom would come and visit him, but when she came to visit in 1999, she was unable to return home because the Civil War has broken out. I am one of 8 children, and 6 of us remain in Liberia when the war begins. Along with my 2 nieces, I was 13 at that time, and we had to stay low to the ground because there were many rebels in the area looting and exchanging gunfire. My sister and I would be in the middle of it looking for food every day. Sometimes we only had 1 cup of rice to feed 8 of us, and sometimes no food at all. For 3 to 4 days, there was a ceasefire, and we took that opportunity to leave Liberia. My older sister went to the Ivory Coast to call my parents after 3 to 4 months with no communication. She came back for the rest of us, and we all made it to the Ivory Coast. From there, we went to Ghana because my father was a Ghanaian. May his soul rest in peace. At this point, my mother had her citizenship in the U.S. and filed for the 8 of us to join her. At first, I did not want to go. I had a job in Ghana, and I was doing well. After 7 to 8 years, I decided to move to the U.S. I arrived at JFK Airport in New York City on December 22nd, 2013, in the middle of a heavy snowstorm. I spent 2 days in the airport before I could travel to Vermont and join my family. The biggest adjustment for me was dealing with the snow and cold temperature. My sister met me at the airport with a winter jacket, but I was still cold because I was not used to the weather. The food here was also very new to me, and I did not like it. I missed my favorite meals from Africa, but I did get used to American food eventually. I still like to cook food from my home country when I can find the ingredients. Because I moved to America, I was able to get a good job to better financially support my family and support myself and my family. I work as a nursing assistant because I find it rewarding to help those who cannot help themselves. I am also able to give my children the life I never got back in Africa, which means the world to me. I came to know Mercer Connection through a friend whose name is Liz. She connected me to Melissa Lin, who is the academic program coordinator. After interviewing with Melissa, she supported me in pursuing my citizenship by setting me up with a tutor and the resources I needed to take the tutoring classes. I am currently still in the class which I attend weekly, and it is going very well for me. I am ready to take the citizenship test and be interviewed. In fact, tomorrow I will be taking my citizenship test. I have waited a long time. I am thankful that I have gotten to this point with the help of Mercer Connection. Without them, I don't think I would have ever gotten this far. I am positive that I will be proud to call myself an American citizen soon. I would like to thank you all again for giving me the opportunity to tell you my story. Please continue to support Mercer Connection because it has given a lot of refugees and immigrants and Americans, especially women, the opportunity to pursue their dreams in life. God bless you all.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Michelle Langlays. I'm a member of the board of the Mercy Connections. Marie, Tricia, and Linda, thank you so much for sharing your stories and inspiring us today. You are brave. Yeah, thank you. You are brave and wonderful and gave us the gift of knowing Mercy Connections does make a difference in people's lives. Like our speakers today, all who come to Mercy Connections are working on their personal aspirations of higher education, employment, business ownership, U.S. citizenship, or maybe just looking for community and a sense of belonging. We are proud of all our participants and honored to be a part of their journeys. Before we close, let me thank from the board of directors all who support this vital organization. We at Mercy are committed to providing pathways for success and meaningful connections. I invite you to join me in this mission by making a gift to Mercy Connections so that we can continue to be there for people like Marie, Tricia, and Linda. Or as I like to call it, come see why we mercy. Come mercy with us. And finally, one last announcement. I'd like you to mark your calendars for Thursday, May 5th, 2022, for our in-person May luncheon. Thank you so much for being here.